Hey, it's Drybear. Back again with another Diablo 4 build guide, and today we're going to talk all about leveling with your Sorcerer slash Sorceress. I'm going to walk you through two highly optimized leveling builds specifically focused on the leveling experience for Sorceress, so you can cruise your way to 50 and beyond, unlock Paragon, and go to the higher difficulties of the game. You'll find both of those build sheets already built for you and down below in the description on my build list. So you can reference those as you're leveling. There's also plenty of general leveling tips and tricks that I put in a separate video outside of just Sorceress that you'll find linked in the description and on my channel as well. But first, you should come hang out with me on my live stream. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/Drybear. If you don't come hang out with me in the community, the next time you're playing guitar, your pick is going to end up in the middle. Now, if you haven't yet watched the general leveling guide, I recommend doing so. There's plenty of things about how to gear, how to spend your gold, what to pick up, what to put in each slot that I think is very valuable for all classes. But when it comes to Sorceress, there's some pretty interesting options that you have available for leveling. And when you really know how to milk her for all she's worth, you can actually make her an exceptional leveler. So let's dive into the first leveling build I have for you, which is lightning based. Its primary source of damage is chain lightning, and builder it will use arc lash. By the way, for this, I have listed a full skill tree all the way up to level 50, and then the legendaries you can get from the codex that are very easy to get. And I recommend, if you haven't watched the general leveling video, I recommend putting your best legendaries on your accessory slots, because those don't need to change as much as some of the other slots. Never put anything on your weapons, because those need to be changed out regularly to give you more base weapon damage. And then for your armor pieces, you also want to get yellows while you're leveling that have good base stats to scale you up. So this gives you a general starting point. For the lightning leveling build, we're going to use Arc Lash. Incredible ability, good wide sweeping range in front of you. It generates a lot of mana, which is very useful, and it gets you a lot of different procs, which is very useful as well. We're going to modify this so that when the initial strike critically strikes, we get initial time. While leveling, our crit chances are going to be mega high, but we will still crit, and this gives us additional damage and generation. And I also, while leveling, would avoid anything that revolves around upkeep of passives, buffs, procs, drops, or CCs, as you can't really manage those as easily while leveling. So one of the best things you can pick up here is Flickering Arc Lash, which gives you movement speed. Movement speed is awesome. It allows you to move from one quest area to the next, speeds up your leveling, and feels really good. Down here into the core, while you're leveling, by the way, you can just put 1 point into this, pick these up and come down, pick these up. And while you're leveling, I would recommend avoiding most of the passives. Just get all of your abilities first, get your modifiers first, and then work your way back and start unlocking the passives, because those have less value than just getting a whole ability onto your bar. For your spender, you're going to use Chain Lightning. This one scales really well while leveling. Not only does it deal damage to you, it'll bounce off of you and deal damage again. And there's other things we can get to make it really, really strong as well. This one, we're going to modify it so it has increased crit chance per bounce. It'll keep increasing its crit chance every time it bounces. And if it bounces off of you, the next time it hits, it deals increased damage. So increased crit, increased damage. It starts doing amazing spread damage as well as single target. Coming down here for leveling, for all my Sorceress leveling builds, I recommend getting at least 3 defensive spells. You actually don't need, like, your core skills do enough damage as Sorceress, especially once you activate your enchantments. You don't really have a need for the late game builds. You just need an ultimate, a good key passive, a builder, a spender, and then a bunch of defense. So what I recommend for most Sorceress builds is to pick up Teleport. One of the best abilities, has uses in every possible situation. You also become unstoppable. You do a little bit of damage, and then we can modify it so the cooldown comes down, and after you teleport, you gain damage reduction, so that you can teleport onto a boss or in a group of enemies, gain damage reduction, and avoid dropping low in HP. Ice Armor is amazing. Short cooldown, gives you a barrier, which is really nice. You can modify it so while it's active, you get mana regeneration, and optionally, you can also make it so damage against vulnerable enemies gives you more barrier. You can drop this one if you want and move into more stats for passives, but in general, it kind of synergizes. And then I would also get Frost Nova. Frost Nova is amazing while leveling. It freezes enemies that can be frozen, so it's not going to work on bosses, but it will freeze out enemies around you, which prevents them from hitting you. So you can blink into a group of enemies, freeze them all, and then we can modify it so that when they become frozen or they get hit by Frost Nova, even if they can't be frozen, they'll become vulnerable for 4 seconds, and bosses will become vulnerable for 6 seconds. Remember, at base with no gear, no modifiers, completely naked, vulnerable gives you a 20% damage amp. So that's 6 seconds on the boss. With no gear or bonuses, you're doing 20% more damage for 6 seconds. And we can have modifiers here where you get more. When you're dealing damage to a target, you make your barrier stronger, which is really cool. So all of those fit really well together. We're going to go and pick up these passives. Remember, I would recommend getting these towards the end, like level 30 plus. But we want to pick up Glass Cannon. This gives us a significant amount of damage at the cost of taking more damage. But because we have so many defensives and damage reductions from everything, we can manage this quite easily. And it's a nice increase in damage. We also want to pick up Elemental Attunement, because for the lightning build, I think it makes sense to run Lucky Hit. You're hitting often enough, and you can pick up Lucky Hit in your build, which gives you some really great options for general play. And remember, you're going to be leveling for a while, so these actually proc really well as long as you're investing into them. For passives down here, I like picking up almost all of these, basically. Align the Elements is great. You get damage reduction against elites for each second you haven't taken damage from an elite. So if you keep elites at range and you don't take damage from them, you keep generating more and more damage reduction. And then when you take a hit, it resets and you want to get away and start generating that again. So if for some reason elite sneaks up on you, you're going to have big fat damage reduction, and then you can get away and it keeps you alive for longer. You also get protection. Using a cooldown grants 30% of your max life as a barrier. Well, guess what? We are running extra cooldowns. Frost Nova is a cooldown. Ice Armor is a cooldown. Teleport is a cooldown. Our ultimate is a cooldown. So all of those trigger a barrier for us, which keeps us alive, and we can stagger them as well to give us more tankiness. The tankier you are and leveling, the more aggressive and reckless you can be, which means the faster that you can go. All of that's really cool. Mana Shield is nice. Every time you spend 100 mana, you gain damage reduction. I only put 2 points here because you don't really need it to be as high as you want. You can drop a point out of Arc Lash if you want and get even more damage reduction, but I think the Arc Lash damage is worthwhile. Then we're going to pick up Icy Veil. If you're running Ice Armor, this is an easy pickup. It increases the duration of Ice Armor by 15%, which is great. So it takes that 6 seconds and extends it. And remember, that gives us more time to fill up the value of the barrier. If it lasts longer, we can refill the shield amount so it doesn't end prematurely. And this Icy Veil scales with that really well. Lastly, we're going to pick up our ultimate Unstable Currents. We're going to go and get just the first point here because this increases our attack speed, and we're not going to bother getting Crackling Energy while leveling. If you get them, you can pick them up. It's a minor amount of damage, but you can't really maintain them until you get better gear later on, so we're not going to worry about it. Then we're going to get Coursing Currents. Hitting an enemy with a shock skill increases your crit chance until you crit, which is really awesome. Remember that we have scalers here where you get increased crit chance for the bouncing of Chain Lightning. Synergizes very well with that. You have crit strikes with shock skills, gives you movement speed, and we have ways to guarantee crits, which is then more movement speed means more survivability and means faster clearing on quests. And lastly, you have a Lucky Hit. Shock skills have a chance to stun enemies. Because we're running extra Lucky Hit in this build, it scales that proc chance up a good bit. Very nice. And stunning against enemies that can be stunned means that certain encounters where there's lots of mobs everywhere you're clearing dungeons, you'll notice how much this procs and it'll start to feel good because it'll keep you safe. The key passive, Veer's Mastery, is an easy pickup. Close enemies take increased damage from your shock skills. We have plenty of shock skills going off there as well. And they deal less damage to you. Crit strikes increase these bonuses by 25%. And again, we have ways to guarantee crit. By the way, Unstable Currents has this effect where not only while it's active will you get attack speed, but while it's active when you cast a shock skill, which is 2 of your main abilities, your Arc Lash and your Chain Lightning, another random skill will proc and cast. So you get bonus damage out of that. So that's super cool. But you probably noticed as we were working our way down this tree that, wait a minute, we have points into Meteor. So there are some optimizations you can make for Sorceress, and it comes from her passive mechanic, which is her enchantments. There are some options and some things that you can choose from in the enchantments that give you some nice bonuses. One of them is that you can actually pick enchantments for skills that you don't even have on your bar because they have random chances to proc, right? Direct damage from skills applies chill. You can make all of your abilities chill if you want. You can make killing an enemy spawns a crackling energy. You can run a crackling energy build if you want as well. When you stun an enemy for any reason, you can spawn charged bolts. All of that's really cool. You can make enemies explode in a fireball when you kill them. For this build specifically, since you have no problem clearing mobs, your biggest problem with SORC is killing bosses and staying alive against bosses. You clear out dungeons like it's nothing. I like running Meteor, especially since we have Lucky Hit. So every time we get a Lucky Hit, there's an 8% chance for a Meteor to fall on enemies. This gives us a nice big burst area that does damage. It helps keep mobs at bay and gives us some good spread. And on top of that, the Meteor that gets spawned from your enchantment inherits all of the passive effects you have on your Meteor. So we're going to pick up Meteor here. It'll apply burning to all targets on the ground and do a bunch of damage in an area. And also, if a cast of Meteor hits 3 or more enemies, which if you're clearing quickly for leveling, it most often will, you might get a second Meteor on top of that, and they fall faster. This is one option. This one, to me, felt the best, but there's plenty of other options. You can get free firewall procs. You can make any skills, like if you enchant, like Firebolt, for example, you can make them take burning. All of your skills apply burning. Fireball is pretty decent as well. Killing an enemy makes them explode, gives you even more damage options. So all of that is cool. I just enjoy seeing meteors fall, and I think the damage is pretty comparable across the board. So that's the full leveling up to level 50 right when you unlock Paragon. Again, get the abilities first and then get the passives. Now let's talk about the gear. All of the legendaries here are legendaries you get from the Codex of Power. You can unlock them very easily and early on in the game, and you can imprint them at the Occultist to get them on there. I say this in all my early leveling guide videos. Don't imprint weapons. Don't even imprint chest or gloves. You need good stats on those, primarily the weapons. You need basically every 5 to 10 levels, you should be completely replacing your weapon with some new yellow that has a higher eye level base and better weapon damage on it. So that you're always increasing your attack power, you're always increasing your offensive stats, you're always making your build better. I recommend putting all of your best build-defining legendaries that you use while leveling on your accessories, because it's less of a problem if those get replaced less often, and you don't want to be spending gold while you're leveling, re-imprinting over and over and over and over. So the legendaries that you can get from the Codex that I recommend for this build, Aspect of the Expectant is great. Doing Arc Lash damage makes your Chain Lightning stronger. We like that. Rapid Aspect, anytime I run melee spells, I like running attack speed on them. It makes them feel a lot better. And it means that you can attack, reposition, attack, reposition. Aspect of Efficiency is great. Casting a basic skill, your Arc Lash, reduces the mana cost of your Chain Lightning, so you can maintain it and do more Chain Lightnings. And then you can also get things like Aspect of the Unwavering. Taking direct damage at any point has a chance to reset the cooldown of one of your defensive skills. And we have 3 of them. So one of those is going to get completely reset, and it gives us an opportunity to do more things with defense as well. You can get your Ice Armor reset, get a new shield. And I think for all SORC leveling builds, since you can get this in the dry steps, Aspect of the Bounding Conduit, gain 25% move, well, it would be 20% if you imprint it, 20% movement speed for 3 seconds after teleporting. Movement speed is great. And also enchantment, we're going to enchant Chain Lightning so that it will automatically spawn a free Chain Lightning for every 100 mana that we spend. So that's just dealing damage, spawning Chain Lightnings. There are other options that you can pick up here. There's one that gives you mana every time Chain Lightning bounces. And that's a super good one for this as well. But I think it's actually a little bit harder to get to. Never mind, I'm wrong. This comes from Fractured Peaks. This is super easy to get. This is a Codex skill legendary you get from Fractured Peaks, the first zone. Each time Chain Lightning bounces off of you, you gain mana. So when we Chain Lightning or we get a free Chain Lightning, we get value here. So this one, Recharging Aspect, is a huge pickup for you. Put it on one of your rings or your amulet, get some value out of that, get some mana back. And that is the first leveling build for Lightning. Next, let's talk about my second SORC leveling build, because I wanted to give people options if you don't want to run Chain Lightning. And this is going to be a fire variant. I actually don't think there's crazy ice options for leveling. You can actually run an ice shards build. After Frozen Orb got changed, I feel like Frozen Orb is just not super useful while leveling. It does have a nice late game option, but leveling ice shards can be fine. But I think that lightning and fire are superior. So let's walk through the fire leveling build. You're going to pick up Firebolt. Easy, applies burning, gives us more damage there. It pierces through burning enemies, so you hit a target for the first time, it'll apply burning, and then the next time you shoot that target, it'll travel through and hit the next one, which is nice. And it generates mana when you hit an enemy that's burning. So while you're building up resource, you're getting value out of that. For your spender, I recommend picking up Fireball. Incinerate's really good, actually, if you can get a full, complete, like, level 80 plus build, but it's really hard to maintain before then. And I think it's a terrible leveling skill. So I wouldn't recommend it for leveling in general. Fireball works just fine. Shoot a projectile, it'll deal damage and explode. The radius is increased, and then we also want to make it so that it deals burning damage to enemies as direct damage for bonus as well. For this variant of the leveling build, we're not going to run Lucky Hit, so we're going to pick up some other options that make up for that option there. Firstly, again, only get your passives once you're done unlocking all of your skills, so level 30 plus, level 25 plus, then come back and get your passives. But we're going to get maximum mana, which is really great, and your core skills deal damage when cast above 50 mana, which is awesome because we want to basically be using Firebolt to apply burning, get our bonus damage on it, get our mana back, shoot out a Fireball at above 50 mana, and we get bonus damage from that. Once again, we're doing a SORC leveling build, so we're going to run 3 defensive options: Ice Armor, Frost Nova, and Teleport. We want the damage reduction, we want the mana regeneration, and we want the vulnerable option for Frost Nova, which works on bosses. And we're also still going to run Glass Cannon. I think it's fine for SORC, especially if you're running 3 defensives, to get the bonus damage at the cost of taking more damage. We come down into the Conjuration Tree. We don't get the Lucky Hit because we're not going to use it, but we still get the damage reduction against elites, damage reduction from spending mana, and the cooldown usage grants life as a barrier, which again, we still have 4 cooldowns in the build, so we're going to be proccing this pretty often. It keeps us safe. Once again, we're using Icy Veil because we are running Ice Armor in this build, so we like that. That gives us more duration, more chance to refresh. We're also going to pick up Inner Flames for bonus damage while we're high on HP, and it should be pretty reasonable for us to maintain high HP with 3 defensive skills and all the damage reduction we have. Then we're going to come down here and we're going to pick up Inferno, probably one of the most visually appealing ultimates in the game. This applies burning to all enemies in the area, and it lingers for a while. It pulls enemies in, which means you can hit them in the face with a point-blank fireball, and it'll explode over all of them. And then while Inferno is active, all of your pyromancy skills cost no mana, which is really just fireball. So while you ult fireball, you can fireball to your heart's content. It doesn't cost any mana. It doesn't cause you any challenge there. We're going to make it so that killing a burning enemy increases your mana regeneration. All 3 of our casted offensive abilities apply burning, so every enemy we kill should be burning, which gives us mana regeneration for more fireballs. We also want to deal increased burning damage to enemies for each second they remain burning, up to a maximum of 15%. This is excellent for killing bosses. Again, the only real challenge that Sorceress runs into while leveling is killing difficult bosses. Other than that, it's kind of a breeze. Warmth is great. Every 1 second, you heal up for a percentage of your max HP for each nearby burning enemy, and the healing is increased when it's against a boss. And again, everything we do applies burning, so everything should be burning, so we're just getting free healing from this at all times. For your key passive, because we have 3 different sources of burning, I like running Combustion, which gives us your burning effects deal more damage per unique source of burning you have. If the enemy is burning from 3 or more, the bonus is doubled. And again, we're going to be super sneaky beaky, and we're going to pick up an extra ability that won't be on our bar, but we will use the enchantment for it. Again, you can run Meteor here if you want. You can run Firebolt if you want. You can run other options that give different procs if you want. I like this for the burning version because Firewall, when you enchant it, makes it so that each time an enemy takes burning damage, there's a chance to spawn 2 firewalls underneath them for 3 seconds. Firewall has its own source of burning, which is nice for your key passive, and it also just gives you extra movement. You can even get a legendary that makes so when you run through Firewall, you get movement speed, which is really nice. And then for the enchantments, I like having Firebolt enchantment, which is another source of burning. Any direct damage from any of your skills applies additional burning over 8 seconds, which again works in the synergy department. So that is the full skill build for Fire. It's down below in the description if you want to use it. And then for legendaries, once again, I recommend imprinting only for your accessories, and then maybe boots, gloves, or pants. Everything else, you just want to get the best possible item for your weapons to make sure your base stats are good. Don't spend time imprinting for your weapons. And for this, again, we like getting aspect of the bounding conduit. Every time we blink, every time we teleport, we get movement speed. That's awesome. Aspect of the Wavering, another great choice. We talked about this for the last one. Taking direct damage has a chance to reset the cooldown completely of one of your defensive skills. And we've got 3 of them. So that just gives us crazy value. If any of these reset the cooldown, if they're currently on cooldown, awesome value. Prodigy's Aspect, using a cooldown restores mana. We have 4 of them in this build. Easy mana pickup. Aspect of the Expectant is great because you will cast Fireball a good bit before you cast Fireball, or Firebolt before Fireball gives us more Fireball damage. And then Edgemaster's Aspect is great too. Getting more Fireball, giving more mana and then casting Fireball gives it more damage. And remember, we get benefit from casting Fireball at a higher value, right? So your core skills deal increased damage when cast above 50 mana. So the higher your mana goes when you spend and use Fireball, the more damage you'll get out of it. You can cast it once, get the burning, cast it once, get the burning, get the burning, proc all your passives, and then farm for full mana, shoot out a Fireball, or when you pop your ultimate, you get free Fireballs and you can spam, and your mana will always be high while Inferno is active. So that is the fire version of the leveling build for SORC. Both of these builds are down below in the description. These are very optimized builds for leveling for SORC, and it hopefully, after explaining everything, gives you the options to play around with it if you want to make changes, or maybe you just like visually Hydra. A lot of people like Hydra, or you want to spawn Ice Blades. You know how everything works, so you can slot things into your own preference. And that's all I got for you today. If you enjoyed the video or you saw value in it, leave a comment down below. Leave a like. Both of those help me out tremendously. It helps the video get seen by more people, and come by my live stream and hang out or ask questions. I'd be happy to chat with you there. If you enjoyed yourself today, leave a like down below. You can support me and my work on Patreon and view Patreon exclusive content, link in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.